This is Scott the Fix-It Guy. Our goal with our videos is to empower you to be able to do the repairs on your own and save a whole lot of money and also get that great feeling of having fixed it by yourself. Today we have a GE oven that is not heating up, and it's probably due to a faulty igniter, which is really easy to replace. So we're going to be replacing that today. I lifted the oven door right off of the hinges. I'm going to pull out the racks. You don't have to take off the oven door, but it's pretty easy to do, and it gives you more room to work. Got out the oven racks, and I'm just sitting in front of the oven. Got it unplugged. I'm going to take out these screws that are holding on the bottom panel. These are just standard head screws. Sometimes you can just do it by hand, or you might need a standard head screwdriver. Once you get those screws out, you can take off the bottom panel, and the igniter is just right there. Pulling off the bottom panel. And this is a GE, so they often have a round type of an igniter, which is less common. Usually they're flat. So there's our igniter hooked to the burner tube. I'm going to remove this 1/4 inch screw here in the front of the Venturi burner tube. And then I'm going to take out the bottom boiler pan and just lift it out. And that's going to allow me to get to a couple of screws underneath here. There's one right there and one right there, and they're 1/4 inch screws that are holding the bottom of that Venturi burner tube in position. So I'm going to take out those two 1/4 inch screws, and then I can pull the whole Venturi burner tube out pretty easily. I do have to remove a couple of wire connections underneath here also. One is on the safety valve. It's a spade connector, and I'm just going to pull that one down to remove it right there. There's a spade connector. And then the other one is a modular connector, and I just have to pull these two apart. It disconnects. Now I can lift the whole burner tube igniter out of the oven. So I'm going to kind of twist and lift it up, and that's going to allow me to get to the screws that are holding it on. Before I remove the screws, I'll put a little bit of oil on the threads of the screws, because a lot of times they're corroded and they become really hard to get out. But if you lubricate them with any kind of oil, it makes a big difference. You can even use cooking oil. My recommendation is to use very little oil, because if you get oil everywhere, it'll smoke really bad when you turn the oven back on. So as little oil as possible right on the threads will really help. And then once I get the oil on there, I'll just use a 1/4 inch driver to zip out those 1/4 inch screws, and then I can exchange it with a new igniter. These igniters last about 4 or 5 years. And then the symptoms are they just don't heat up anymore, or they heat up really, really slow. And sometimes they even cause like a small explosion that makes the oven door pop open. So now we have the new one. We're going to cut off the wires from the old one about maybe 1 inch away from the igniter. And then we're going to splice in, we remove about 1/4 inch of the insulation. We're going to splice in those old wires onto the new igniter. The new igniter has these spade connectors, but I'm going to just cut them off, and then I'm going to strip 1/4 inch. And you don't need to be concerned about which igniter wire goes to which wire from the oven. It can be either one, no polarity problem. So I'm going to use my ceramic wire nuts. They're designed to take a lot of heat, and the igniter kit usually comes with a couple of new ones. So we're going to put those on and twist them to the right as tight as we can get them. And that's going to cause a really good electrical connection. We'll do the same on the other side. Get that nice and tight. These oven igniter repairs are really fun. They're fast and easy. We're going to put the igniter in position, and we're going to add those two 1/4 inch screws back in. You can even wipe them off if they have any extra oil on them, so just so you don't get the smoking. So I got the screw in position. I'll tighten that down, and I'm all set to put the burner tube back into the oven. So I'm going to feed the wires into that hole first. That's going to bring them down into that compartment below where the broiler pan used to go. So I'm going to feed those down in first, and then I'll feed the end of the burner tube down in there. And I want to get it right over the brass part of the safety valve. So I'm just feeding that stuff in there, and here I am underneath. I'm going to grab this and feed it over the brass piece there so it's nice and secure, and then I can add those screws back in. So I'll put those 2 1/4-inch screws back in underneath here, and they're used to hold that part of the burner tube in place. There's 2 of them. You can use a long extension, makes it easier to get to those screws because they're kind of in a tight position. Put those in. We'll do our electrical connections underneath here. One of these spade connector goes to the safety valve right here, and the other one hooks to the modular connector right here, the yellow wire. And then we're going to, once we get those hooked up, we're going to kind of tuck them back in toward the back part of the firewall, get them out of the way. We don't want them to hit the broiler pan. So now we're just kind of tucking the wires away, and then we'll put the broiler pan back in, and we'll put the pieces back together to give it a test. So putting that 1 1/4-inch screw in at the front of the burner tube to hold it in position, and I can now plug it back in, give it a test. So I'll just set it for bake, and it should fire up pretty quick. It usually takes about 30 seconds or less for ignition after you get a new glow igniter. The old ones can take hours before they ever ignite, if they do ignite, when they get worn out. So that one's starting to glow right away. That's really good. And then once it gets hot enough, it'll let the gas flow in. So right about now, we'll start getting the gas. There we go. Got a nice flame. So that's great. So I'll turn it off, and then I'll let it cool down, and I can put the panels back in. So I'm putting the bottom broiler pan back in. Got that. Here's the bottom panel. I feed in the front of the lip first toward the front of the oven, and then I let the panel go down in the back, and I'll add those 2 standard head screws to hold it in position. This part's a little tricky sometimes. You have to wiggle them in to get them started. So depending on how much baking that you do, I should get about 4 or 5 years out of these igniters. Put the racks back in, so the curved side points up and goes in first. So second one. There we go. And then we're going to put the door back on. We put it back on at about 33-degree angle. Feed it all the way down, and then should close nice and even. We'll give it a test again, make sure it's getting the right amount of heat. So that's it. So I hope that'll get yours going too. Thanks so much for watching, and good luck with yours. Thanks so much for watching our video. We really appreciate your support. And when you get a chance, please press the subscribe button below so you can be subscribed, and also the notification bell so we can send you more videos about appliance repair. Please also give us a thumbs up if you enjoyed the video. If you really liked the video and it really helped you, please press this new applaud button, and you can show your support and also get a nice clapping hands for your video. Thanks again.